When I was a kid, I had to recite a poem in front of my class, and I started to stutter. A few kids laughed. For them, it was probably just a small moment they forgot 5 minutes later. But my brain turned it into a lesson that stayed with me for years. It decided that being seen was dangerous. It was safer not to stand out, not to take initiative, and not to speak unless I really had to, because someone might laugh at me again. The strange part is that even decades after leaving school, I still sometimes notice how people react when I stutter. If I'm being honest though, almost nobody cares. In my entire adult life, I've never heard anyone say anything negative about my stutter. And yet, somewhere deep inside me, that old fear of being laughed at is still there. Over the years, I've realized something important. Sometimes we are not afraid of reality at all. We are afraid of an old experience that our brain still treats as relevant. Our brain is wired to protect us from discomfort in every way it can. As we go through life, it keeps learning from pain. A hot pan burns your hand, betrayal hurts. If people laugh at you once, maybe it's safer not to give them another chance. Over time, those experiences build a kind of protective system inside us, and we call that system fear. The same thing can happen after a painful relationship when we are young. Our brain starts making connections, then it looks for the same patterns in every new person. Sometimes it even pushes people away because of one old painful experience. We are biological creatures, and our brain is constantly trying to protect us from anything that could hurt us, whether physically or emotionally. That's why fear exists. But today I don't want to talk about fear only as something that holds us back. I want to talk about it as something that can sometimes point us in the direction we actually need to go. Because the most interesting moments in our lives are often hiding behind our fears. Not because fear is always right, and not because fear is somehow wise, but because fear usually appears next to something that truly matters. It's usually where we risk being seen, where we might fail, where we have a chance to become someone new. Let's say you decide to start your own business. Now you need to find clients. That means talking to people and offering them a solution to their problems. And very quickly fear shows up. They won't listen to me. I won't be able to get their attention. I look stupid. They'll reject me. If you let that fear take control, one rejection turns into another until eventually you tell yourself, I'm done calling people. I'm just bad at sales. I can't convince anyone. And to be honest, that still happens to me sometimes. I'm still working on it, and I'd like to invite you to work on it too. Fear's job is to protect us from painful experiences. That's important to understand because fear isn't our enemy, and it isn't always lying to us. Sometimes it's just an old guard who's still protecting a door that stopped being dangerous a long time ago. And that brings us to an important question. How do we tell the difference between real danger and an old fear? I think we need to learn to move forward our fears by asking two simple questions. How important is this? And how dangerous is it really? If something is truly important for our life, our business, our creativity, our relationships, or our freedom, and the actual danger is very small, then fear shouldn't be the thing making the decision for us. If you're a wise person, you won't spend days beating yourself up over one phone call that didn't lead anywhere. You'll make another call, and then another one, until you've built a sales system that works. Not because you're fearless, but because you understand something simple. Rejection isn't proof that you are not good enough. It's part of the process. The same thing applies to my stutter. Fear tells me, don't speak, don't record videos, don't show yourself, don't draw attention. But reality keeps showing me something different. Most people simply don't care, Almost everyone is busy thinking about themselves and their own problems. As long as you are not crossing someone else's boundaries, you are rarely as important to another person as you imagined you are. It's an uncomfortable thought, but it's also incredibly freeing. People think about us far less than we think they do. Not in a cruel way, in a good way. They're busy living their own lives, which means most of our fears about other people's opinions are much bigger inside our heads than they are in reality. Of course, not all fears are the same. There is the fear of speaking up, the fear of making mistakes, and the fear of rejection. But there are also losses and painful events that can genuinely break a person. Losing someone you love, losing a pet, a serious illness, betrayal, the kind of experiences that can stay with you for years and make it hard to move forward. And I'm not going to tell you that those things are easy, they're not. But I do think grief is one of the most important emotions we have to learn to live through. We need to let ourselves cry, feel sad, feel the loss, but those losses shouldn't become the force that controls the rest of our lives. When something painful happens to us, I think we should stop for a moment, take a few slow breaths, and ask ourselves a few honest questions. What can I learn from this? What am I feeling right now? What is my body trying to tell me? What's the real danger here, and what is turning into a new fear that might control my life for the next 10 years? To me, that's what real inner work looks like. It's not about destroying fear or pretending it doesn't exist. It's about understanding where it came from. We don't have to fight every emotion we experience. Sometimes we just have to understand why it's there. This happened to me, but it doesn't have to knock me off my path. Yes, it hurts. Yes, it's painful. But the only thing I can truly change is the way I see this experience and the way I respond to it. I know that in some situations this can feel incredibly difficult. Sometimes working with a psychotherapist really is the best decision, but before anything else, I think we should learn to understand ourselves, our body, and our brain. Whether we like hearing it or not, we are biological creatures. We experience joy and grief, fear and excitement. We cry, we laugh. And when we begin to understand our emotions instead of fighting them, we stop living against ourselves and start living with ourselves. If I go back to the beginning of this story, my fear of stuttering was trying to protect me. It didn't want me to feel ashamed in front of my class ever again. But if I keep listening to that fear for the rest of my life, it will steal my voice. It steals my videos, my writing, my ideas, my opportunities, and, in some quiet way, my life. So now I see fear differently. Fear doesn't always tell us where we shouldn't go. Sometimes it shows us where the door is. And maybe behind the door are the most interesting moments of my life. Not because there won't be pain and not because I won't make mistakes, but because that's where I'll finally stop living by the rules of old experiences and start testing reality again instead of assuming I already know the outcome. Fear isn't only something that holds us back. Sometimes it can also push us toward what we truly want. The challenge isn't getting rid of fear. It's learning not to obey it blindly, but to listen to it as a signal. And if there is one idea I'd like you to take away from this video, it's this. Maybe some of your fears stopped protecting you a long time ago. Maybe they're protecting you from the life you actually want to live. Thank you for watching. Be happy, accept your fears as experience, and I'll see you in the next video.